is this angle weird? I was wondering. Sorry, hold on. I think 5 years into a live stream, his man would have a stand for his phone. I do have a stand for my phone. It's at the store. Um, did not really realize how tired I was, how exhausted I am, until I was typing in the name of the stream. I put the number, the date, and I'm like, okay, and we'll call it. I was like, wow. It lasted a lot longer than that. Yeah, I guess I'm very tired. I gotta go do a whole load of dishes, a whole bunch of dishes actually, more than one load. Anyway, I got to do a bunch of dishes, so it's not going to be a very long live stream. Um, Another day where I did quite a bit. It's weird. It feels like I had a lot of customers, partly because it's winter, so there's a lot of time where I get customers in a rush, a bunch of customers. I get 3 or 4 in a row. And then the last one stays and talks for a long time, and then I get some time without a customer, and then so it feels like there's always someone in the shop. But it's really it's like I would say it's a fraction of what it was, but more people who are buying stuff buy more than one thing. More people who are just looking find something they're looking for, and I really think that the rearrange is to be a part. I think that if we had the rearrange with a restock of what I know is the best selling stuff, we would just be shifting. But I can't just borrow on that idea. But after a couple of reassuring emails back and forth with the guy who I'm talking to the signs with, which I've mentioned a couple times, getting signs for all over the shop. I took a bunch of pictures and I envisioned the signs. It should be the picture for this episode, and I could easily see us wrapping up and deciding exactly what we're doing within a week or two, and that's like a big deal because the whole idea of the signage is to let people feel more comfortable browsing in the shop, not dependent on me as much, and envisioning it, actually sitting there and taking pictures and figuring out where signs would be, really locked a lot of things into place for me. I've made myself not move. I was like, maybe I'll just move a few books around because I'm trying to get the genres together now. Maybe I'll just move a couple books around. So no, there's other things that you need to do. You've moved plenty of stuff. So I just did that. I priced loads and loads of back issues. We now have, I don't know, 20 or 30 Batman issues from Scott Snyder, Grant Morrison, good stuff in the dollar bins. A bunch of 3, 5, whatever books. And I had a lot of customers. And like I said, people bought, I'd say, a little bit more because of the layout, the way it was. I had many people who walked in, refused to say what they were looking for or what kind of thing they were interested in, who left without buying anything. I think the signs will help with those people as well, but they most likely still won't buy anything. And it wasn't so terrible, except for the fact that, like, in the background noise, and a lot of the conversations I was having were, of course, about how terrible things are. And I forgot this. I forgot what it was like because we kind of went into it very gradually in 2020. What's up? Oh, Lila's here. She thinks it's funny that I have a live stream.
I don't think it's
She's
funny.
like,
I think it's cute.
She's like, hey all, it's your boy. Watching Mitch and Nene. Both of them. You can come whipping Nene. I bet my live audience would triple.
Yeah. Because I'm so good.
Yeah, that's the reason.
I'm watching Spirited Away.
Oh, well, that's much more important.
My favorite.
You should get some sleep though. You have school.
I'm going to.
Such a
I'm really good
dad.
at
Such an
sleeping.
old dad. Such a tired. You are very good at sleeping. That's the problem.
Wow. I can't believe you just said I have a problem.
We all have problems, sweetheart.
I don't. I'm perfect.
You can be perfect and have problems.
No, you can't.
You can, because the world isn't perfect.
You're very silly, but that's not the definition of perfect.
Okay. It's so perfect, perfect, perfect.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
100%. Um, anyway, as I was saying, yeah, it's very taxing. Again, in 2020, we opened up the shop little by little because we made a complete mess being mail order for like 4 months. Joe remembers very well. We literally just decimated the shop to move things to boxes. Hey, Joe. Um, Perfect timing. So we slowly got into it. So as the world was opening up, and again, in 2020, it was still our current idiot in chief making the calls then as well. There was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot, but it was I only had a few people at a time, and people weren't out as much. By the time we got into 2021, 2022, plenty of terrible things to talk about. Plenty of bad stuff that went down in the last 5 years. But being the person who like is just having these fun little conversations about how totalitarianism works and what this is and what and the levels of bad for different. I forgot how taxing it is on my end because I'm already we talk about it or our regulars know the show. I'm already. I had this one guy who I just literally like gave. He's in his early 20s, maybe. I think he's like 15, but I know he's not 15. Um, I gave him like a whole history lesson on the creation of Marvel with the Fantastic Four. He knew none of this nerd stuff. And I'm just like, I don't want to teach it to you. It's not important. It's not important that Fantastic Four #1 has the first little MC bar. And he goes, and that bar becomes Marvel Comics. I'm like, well, not exactly. They just have that MC on everything that Stan Lee put out for the next 2 or 3 years until he was able to convince Goodman to make Marvel. But like it wasn't official. It wasn't like it was just his and he's like, wow. And I'm like, okay, sure. It's not an important fact. So he was in for a while. We talked about all sorts of things and all sorts of art, but great stuff about comics. But plenty of other people. Comics were secondary in the conversation. I will say that a bunch of people bought Tokyo these days. I've sold 3 sets of Tokyo these days since last Friday when I announced that we were making that thing. So that's pretty cool. I think that's a good system, but it's not automatically a good system because it's Tokyo these days. It's Matsumoto. I go, oh, did you watch Tekken Concrete? Oh, Tekken Concrete, that's an anime classic. It is. He wrote the manga. I go, oh, have you ever watched Ping Pong? It's a very strange sports anime. They go, oh, I heard of it. Cats of the Louvre. Like he's famous. So it's an interesting sales pitch. It's very much, Jiro Dreams of Sushi for manga. But it's also that it's someone who is a internationally known, famous mangaka who's had animes made of his stuff. So if we're going to do things like this with a monthly, we need to kind of get on that same kind of wavelength. So something to consider. I'll probably run out of it next week, and I'm not planning on reordering it right away, unless people ask. But I already have something lined up to do like a little bundle of, not as thick a series, not as expensive, but a small bundle. We'll see how that does. And it's just, there's lots of little plans and little wheels, but like literally now 2 weeks, 3.5 weeks, the conversation at the shop, the has been heavy. There's a lot of crap going on in America, and a lot of times people have no interest in talking about it, but they want to make little references to it, and And then from the reactions I give them, from just the things I say, they want to hear more because I don't always say what they expect I would say. And it just becomes like a lot. So that's interesting that like I really feel like we're turning the shop around and it looks better than it has in 5 years at least. And it's not even done. Like literally, there are gigantic piles of things, and it still looks better, I think, than it's looked in 5 years. Everyone who comes in likes the changes. Even people who are confused, and then look around and they're like, "Wow!" And once the signage is up, I think it's going to be. But while that's happening, it's like ugh, all the time. So that's future historians. Joe, we mentioned the future historians a lot, but I feel like we 2024 we kind of just stopped discussing the future historians, right? I don't know. Got let's talk some comic business stuff besides the store stuff. We got our Image Comics system works. 2 weeks worth of Image Comics from my friend Mark. Um, Tomorrow we're supposed to be getting our Diamond order of the books from Diamond this week. So that means on Friday we will have by Friday we'll have had all this week's releases, Image and other presses, besides for Marvel and DC. And it's not a terrible system. It's not a great system. I read today, I read the Comics Pro, I think he's president. Go Bag for Retailers. Oh, you're probably right, Joseph. That was our mistake. That was a very big mistake. Um, and I read a lot of the things, and a lot of the things in it, I was like, oh, it was actually last night, yesterday, and I went, oh, I did that, of course, and then a bunch of it was like, oh, that's an excellent point. I should do that. So good stuff. A few of them were like really interesting because they were like, you should have all your financials from Diamond in order, and I'm like, I don't have financials from Diamond. Like I have a weekly payment that I make. I don't have any outstanding invoices. I have an email that says that from a few months ago. Like it is, but I get it because if you're really a giant store, they give you credit sometimes. It's a whole thing. Um, yeah, and then comics is just. I got so many emails today about things that we're not going to have on Free Comic Book Day anymore, and I'm looking at going comics that we pay 25 or 30 cents for because they only cost the companies like 20 cents to print that haven't been printed yet. You think we're getting those? We might. Maybe. These things are supposed to be printed before the 30-day pause is over, so it's possible that that's the logic there. But I don't know what Free Comic Book Day is going to look like. I don't know what this Godzilla event is going to look like. That's something that happened. I'm thinking about how much happened today. I heard back from Marvel, no response from John Romita Jr. Just didn't say anything. He didn't answer their request. So I guess that's a no. Is basically what Marvel said. So I don't think we're going to end up doing something at the cinema. I'm not going to ask Ryan to come in from Canada right now. Oh, Ryan, in April, after something happens with Canada and America, do you want to come? Like, so yeah, we're putting a pause in it. We got a pin in everything, and we'll get back to it. I'm going to make a pretty huge order for Godzilla versus Fantastic Four, but not like an event level order. What else? Oh, just I priced so many books today. I was kind of. Oh, Joe, come on. We've had Ryan. We'll have him again. Maybe I'll just invite him for the Free Comic Book Day. That might not happen, and we'll just put a whole bunch of copies aside. That's an idea. Just Ryan and Yuko. Free Comic Book Day with Yuko Shimizu and Ryan North. How's that sound? Doesn't matter if we have free comics or not. Right? That's something to consider. What was I saying, though, Joseph? You distracted me. Once again, Joseph. Gosh, I'm tired. That I was very happy to see a bunch of Grant Morrison issues and a bunch of Scott Snyder issues that are going to go in the dollar bin. There was a long time, there's a huge period where those comics were just $5 books, all of them. I put almost every new 52 Batman that we had, it's like 16 through 30 something, unless it was a variant cover by a good artist or a popular with a really popular character that like goes for something, or like I think we put issue 25, the Zero issue, and a few of the other like semi cool issues for like their cover price. Everything else is going to the dollar, and I'm like, oh, good. There's a sanity here again, because like the Scott Snyder stuff's great, but it's been reprinted through the hilt. Almost nothing is new. Oh, the Grant Morrison era Vertigo though, it's such a Joseph. You're trying to get me to. I have to do dishes, man. You're trying to get me to talk too long. Come on, man. Um, I enjoyed that Vertigo era immensely. I didn't take part in a lot of it um, at the time. I had only read a few things, but Hearts isn't going to help. Um, but yeah, that Grant Morrison era Vertigo, that late '90s Vertigo had some really exceptional work. A lot of hack garbage though too. You have to remember, a lot of wonderful artists working with writers who literally were just told you can do whatever you want, and the artist. I think there's at least 3 or 4 series that Sean McMahon has worked on that are beautiful to look at, that are absolutely meaningless. they're just like nothing. Um, and there's a few Vertigo books that are quite contrived and ridiculous, but again, wonderful art. And it's a great period because it has like schlocky stuff, but also incredibly profound stuff. Oh, you know what I did today? Besides for giving a full history of, geez, Joe, you're too. Besides giving a complete history of um, Marvel and Stan Lee, the creation of Marvel to someone. I also ended up describing Cerebus and its place in comic book history to someone because he keeps seeing it. He keeps hearing that it's one of the great reads. I have so many copies of it, which is like it's really funny because there's a lot of other things that I have a lot more copies of. No, it's that because I've started to arrange the shelves and whatever. And yeah, he's been thinking about giving it a try. So I took, and he ended up, I love you too, Joe. He ended up putting it back after spending 20 minutes absolutely adoring everything he was hearing about it. He goes, he's planning on retiring in like, I think a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, I think. No, might have even been on the month scale. I can't remember, but he's mentioned it a few times when he's been in. He's retiring soon. So he goes, so that's one for retirement. And he put it back. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Don't kill yourself on that one. It's a lot to read. Um, I can't even think of a customer who like I got to read Cerebus, who got Cerebus from me, who I can recall finishing all of it. Um, Joe, I think you got pretty far at one point. Um, and I was telling him when he was putting it back, I'm like, that's the thing about Cerebus, is like you don't have to finish it. It can just get to places where you just don't care anymore. It's very long. He's like, yeah, it just sounds so good. I'm like, right, but it's it's a lot. I said like this great device used in Jaga's story is used in Reed's later, and it just done to make fun of the comic industry of the mid '90s. It might not appeal. He's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, and that's totally fine. A lot of people just don't finish it. Oh, you only read one volume? I thought you got through Church and State also. I don't know why I think. I think maybe it's someone else I know. One of the other people when we were trying to do Sandman, and then we talked about doing Cerebus. Someone said he had gotten up to a certain volume. We never got farther. But anyway, I don't expect people to read it. It's like ask not to put airs on, but ask a Joycean scholar if everyone should read Ulysses, and he'd go, sure, after proper preparation. That's how Ulysses scholars talks. I think that you'd enjoy that first volume and maybe even a little of the second. on a Conan kick. I don't know if you get much farther though. Anyway, I do have a lot of dishes to wash. As you can tell, I did a lot of things today. I've been doing a lot of things every day. I was literally going through and I went, that was Sunday? I just did that on Sunday? What? Because I've done so much since then. That is my life. All right. Dishes to wash. Until tomorrow, which I probably, come on, let's be honest. I haven't been doing Fridays, but let's pretend I still do Fridays. Remember, damn it, babies, you gotta be kind.